Imagine barreling down a desert highway with a monstrous chrome grille bearing down behind you. No face, no words, just the scream of a diesel engine and the promise of certain destruction. Each truck on this list carried more than just cargo. They carried plotlines, fear, heroism, and sometimes pure destruction. We're talking about trucks so iconic they became characters in their own right. This is a breakdown of the most unforgettable trucks to ever grace the silver screen. The real stories behind them, the machines that powered them, and why they still matter decades later. Number 1. The Peterbilt 281 from Dual, 1971. It had no driver you could see, no lines of dialogue, and yet it might be the most terrifying villain in movie history. Steven Spielberg's Duel turned a rusty old Peterbilt 281 into a rolling nightmare. The truck wasn't just part of the background, it was the monster. Built in the mid-1950s, the 281 featured a narrow nose and single-drive axle with a 10-speed manual and a Cummins NTC 350 engine, churning out about 350 horsepower. But on screen, it felt like it had 1,000. The production team scouted trucks that looked menacing. What they landed on was something old, weathered, and dripping with character. Spielberg personally chose the Peterbilt for its face, that sloped grille, those beetle-like fenders, and the sheer menace it projected. It didn't just chase a car, it stalked it. Slowly, methodically, and with the patience of a serial killer. No music, just engine noise, brakes hissing, and the roar of tires. This wasn't just a truck, it was evil on wheels. Number 2. The Mack RS700L from Convoy, 1978. Rubber duck wasn't just a CB handle, it became a symbol of rebellion. Chris Christopherson's blacked-out Mack RS700L led a convoy across state lines in one of the most iconic trucker films ever made. The RS700L was a long hood conventional with a steel cab, twin stacks, and a presence that couldn't be ignored. Powered by a Mack T676, a six-cylinder turbo diesel, it delivered around 285 horsepower. Not earth-shattering, but paired with Christopherson's calm swagger and a script dripping with anti-authority grit, it didn't need more. Fans still build tributes to this truck today, right down to the American flag bumper and duck hood ornament. It wasn't just about looks, it was a cultural moment. Blue-collar defiance captured in steel and chrome. Number 3. The Western Star 5700XE from Transformers, Age of Extinction, 2014. You might not love the movie, but you can't ignore the truck. When Optimus Prime rolled onto the screen in Age of Extinction, fans saw something new. Gone was the Peterbilt 379. In its place, the futuristic, aggressive lines of a Western Star 5700XE. Under the hood, a Detroit DD-15 engine delivering over 500 horsepower and 1,850 pound-feet of torque. It was cleaner, meaner, and sharper than any Prime before it. The redesign was controversial. Purists missed the old-school vibe of the 379, but this new rig was built for a modern battle, a visual reboot to match the franchise's tone. And let's face it, nothing looks quite as cool as a polished Western Star barreling through explosions with a sword. Number 4. The Freightliner FL86 from Over the Top, 1987. Sylvester Stallone, arm wrestling, and a classic Freightliner cab-over. Over the Top gave us Lincoln Hawk, a struggling trucker trying to reconnect with his son. His ride? A Freightliner. FL86 COE, a workhorse of the era with its squared-off front and utilitarian build. The film didn't glamorize the truck, it used it. Long nights on the road, parking lot arm wrestling matches, engine growls punctuating emotional scenes. The FL86 was Hawk's home, his sanctuary, and his battle wagon. Today, fans still hunt for FL86s to restore them in tribute, not because they were flashy, but because they meant something. Number 5. The Peterbilt 379 from Transformers, 2007 to 2011. Before the 5700XE, Optimus Prime was a Peterbilt 379, and he looked damn good. The 379 is arguably one of the most iconic rigs in American history. Long nose, chrome everything, deep stacks. Built from 1987 through 2007, it was the final generation of Peterbilt's traditional-styled trucks before modern aerodynamics took over. Underneath, it packed a Caterpillar C15 or Cummins YSX, depending on the build, with up to 600 horsepower on tap. And in the hands of Michael Bay, it became a rolling titan of justice. When Prime transformed, it wasn't just CGI magic, it was an homage to classic American truck design. But the truck wasn't just eye candy, it was a statement. Bold, unapologetic, and unmistakably American. That flaming paint job? Pure bravado. The rumble of the engine as it transformed? That wasn't just sound design, it was soul. To millions of fans, the 379 didn't play Optimus Prime. It was Optimus Prime. Number 6. The Kenworth W900 from Smokey and the Bandit, 1977. While the Trans Am got most of the glory, Cletus Snowman Snow's Kenworth W900 was the muscle behind the mission. A classic long-nose rig, the W900 featured a Cummins big cam engine, Eaton Fuller 13-speed, and more than enough torque to haul 400 cases of Coors across state lines. This truck was a rolling outlaw. Decked in chrome, big tanks, and twin stacks, it was everything a 70s trucker wanted in a rig. It didn't just follow the Bandit, it was the Bandit in 18-wheel form. What made it unforgettable wasn't just the spec sheet, it was the attitude. The W900 didn't whisper across the screen, it growled. It embodied that untamed, bootlegging spirit of the open road. Every gear shift, every stretch of highway, you could feel the defiance in its frame. It wasn't just hauling beer, it was hauling legend. Number 7. The GMC General from Breaker Breaker, 1977. Chuck Norris versus corrupt small-town cops? Add in a GMC General and you've got a highway classic. The General was GMC's flagship heavy-duty truck, introduced in the late 70s with options like the Detroit Diesel 8V92 and Caterpillar 3406. In Breaker Breaker, the truck served more as a sidekick than a prop. Sleek, intimidating, and a little underrated, it embodied the no-nonsense, hard-hitting attitude that made trucker culture cool. It wasn't flashy like a show truck, but it didn't need to be. The General was brute strength wrapped in squared steel. With Chuck Norris behind the wheel, the message was clear. This wasn't just a vehicle, it was a battering ram with chrome. And when it came crashing through buildings and corrupt lawmen alike, it made every mile marker feel like a warning. Today, the GMC General is a rare find, but among collectors, it's still a prize. Number 8. The White Western Star 4964 from Maximum Overdrive, 1986. A green goblin face on the grille, a truck that drives itself, and Stephen King behind the camera. What could possibly go wrong? The main villain of Maximum Overdrive. It became a cult classic. The image of that green goblin bearing down on helpless humans? Unforgettable. But what really sealed this truck into horror history wasn't just its look, it was the way it moved. Slow, deliberate, unstoppable. It didn't chase, it hunted. The low growl of the engine paired with that grinning, demonic face turned every scene into a mechanical nightmare. It wasn't just metal on wheels, it was malevolence wrapped in fiberglass and diesel smoke. Number 9. The Peterbilt 359 from Black Dog, 1998. Patrick Swayze. Illegal arms. A desperate run across the country. And one means Peterbilt 359. Released in 1998, Black Dog was a love letter to trucking action flicks. The 359, a predecessor to the 379, carried all the old-school charm. Round headlights, flat fenders, and a low, aggressive stance. Built with a Cat 3406B under the hood, it had the muscle to match its style. On screen, it delivered tense chase scenes and one of the better portrayals of life behind the wheel. But it wasn't just about speed, it was about weight. The 359 didn't weave through traffic like a sports car. It thundered forward like a hammer, throwing sparks and grit in every direction. In a world of high-speed stunts, this truck kept it real. No tricks, no shortcuts, just diesel, steel, and one hell of a lot of attitude. Number 10. The Mack Superliner from Mad Max. Beyond Thunderdome, 1985. Last but not least, the apocalypse never looked so tough. In Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome, Mel Gibson's Max Red shotgun in a heavily modified Mack Superliner. With armor plating, smokestacks, and makeshift weapon mounts, this wasn't your everyday line haul rig. Underneath all the post-apocalyptic madness was a real truck, a Superliner packing a 400-plus horsepower Mack engine known for torque and durability. But what made it legendary wasn't just the build, it was the vibe. This was the last beast standing in a world gone feral. A war rig dressed in road rash and survival gear. The Superliner didn't just transport, it dominated. It crushed wreckage, hauled chaos, and looked like it had rolled straight out of a diesel-fueled fever dream. In Thunderdome, the end of the world had a grille, and it was a Mack. Some were classics, some were misunderstood, but all of them earned their place in movie history, not just for what they did on screen, but for what they represented. And hey, next time you hear a Jake brake echo down the interstate, maybe take a second look. You never know when the next icon is rolling by.